first of all, it is interesting, though, that the report was released in January 2022, and it was quietly released. So what does that mean we should all be thinking about this? Not to worry?
Well, look, I hope so. I mean, I think we've beat this thing down a few times. We've had the Liberals repeatedly say that they're not going to do this. They're having to keep saying that because something keeps popping up. I know during the last election, it was a Liberal candidate, I think in Atlantic, Canada, who was doing an interview when they said, "Well, what about a home equity tax?" Almost like a day after the minister said, "We're never going to do it." And one of the candidates said, "Oh, yeah, unfortunately, that's something we're just going to have to do." And so that popped up again, and they had to deny and deny again that this was something that's on their radar. But there's the old saying, where there's smoke, there's fire, and there just keeps being more and more smoke on this. You've got CMHC funding these reports. You've got a candidate suggesting these things. You've got other agitators out there pushing for this. Plus, you have things like you have the CRA asking to know when you sell your home, putting that on the tax forms, even though that's not required for any taxation information that they should need. And
well, Scott, let me stop you there.
Yep.
Let me stop you there as well, because from what I understand, the CRA started requiring this, i.e., making sure you say on your tax form if you sold your house. That request was back in 2016, was it not?
Yeah, we started in 2016. They started putting the requirement for you to report the sale of a primary house, and
why?
That's exactly the question that we have, is why? Because it's not, right now, capital gains are applied to your secondary home. So if you have a cottage or a rental property or whatnot, you do have to pay capital gains on any gains within those sales. But your primary residence has been exempt. It's been exempt forever. So why they all of a sudden in 2016 started requiring this information, I don't know. It worries me that the CRA is gathering this information and will be providing it to the government as, well, look at how much money you could be getting if you applied a home equity tax. In fact, we're calling on the CRA and the federal government to remove that requirement, remove that reporting requirement. I mean, it already takes too long and it's too complicated to do our taxes, let alone putting in unnecessary information. If they want to do census sort of data, or if they want to have Statistics Canada go out and try to figure out that kind of information, that's one thing. It's completely different when it's something that if you mess up or lie on or whatnot, you could have serious penalties. So we would definitely like to see that removed, because we do not like the idea of the government collecting that information.
I'm just curious, Scott, how many Canadians do you think know about this?
Well, I think more and more every day. I mean, we've certainly been trying to blow the whistle on it and alert people. We're running radio ads right now in some of the largest markets in the country about this issue, trying to get some pushback on MPs and make sure that they know that Canadians are not happy about it. But I don't know how far it's penetrated. I mean, I think that the last couple of years here, there's been other things in the news. People have been a little more focused on COVID and inflation,
right,
and wars going on. So I mean, this sort of thing can kind of sneak under the radar until it comes up and bites you. And we always sort of feel at the organization that if you don't fight a tax before it's in place, you're in big trouble, because once these things get in, they're so hard to get removed.
It reminds me of the taxes that the federal government, the Liberal federal government, wanted to put on small businesses going back a number of years ago during the summer, when people weren't perhaps focused.
Oh yeah, I mean that one took a lot of pushback, and it went for that whole summer of small business owners having I wouldn't say rallies, but having organizational sort of gatherings to let other small businesses know about it. And it really did take a coordinated effort and pushback to get the government to back off. And that's what I think we've seen that a bit here. We've had the government back off repeatedly, but then they keep doing little things, right? I mean, one other one was during the last federal election. The Liberals promised essentially a home equity tax, but they call it an anti-flipping tax. And that's a tax that would apply the capital gains. It would remove that exemption for anyone that sells their home, their primary residence, with under 12 months. So if you buy a home and sell it within 12 months, you'd have to pay that tax. Well, that's one that worries us as well, that could very easily turn into a full-blown home equity tax.
But that's what's so difficult, Scott, because, there is a concern that people flip homes and kind of just drive up the prices. And it truly is for an investment purpose versus primary home. You can kind of understand the flipping aspect, but what you're saying is that it can escalate in terms of, if it's 12 months you own the home for, it could be 24, 72, 120, and therefore it's actually your home.
Yeah, I mean that's really the worry is this will escalate. And most flippers though are not doing it with their primary residence. They're doing it with professional flippers are doing it with the secondary residence, and that's where they're really making their money. So why they want to do this on primary residences? Again, that I don't know, and that's why it worries me.